Starting. If you miss anything or you want to come back to anything, this will be posted on the orientation webpage, and we'd be happy to send the slides at any time if you want to review them, or go over them with your family or refer to them later. So just want to make sure all my panelists are muted when not talking. Awesome, thank you guys. And yep, I see all your videos, I believe. So welcome. So hi families, hi parents, hi students. I see more and more people slowly coming in. So I'm so happy to see you. It's really fun to do these, and it's more fun when we have attendees and not all topics are as well attended as others. So we're really happy that you're joining us tonight. We're getting really excited for the fall and to welcome you. And we know that there are a ton of questions about tonight's topic, dining and living on campus. So really the whole kind of residential experience. So some housekeeping. I'm pretty sure that you should be able to see the PowerPoint and hopefully our little itty bitty pixels maybe at the top of your screen. You can feel free to go ahead and jump on the Q&A if you have any questions, or in the chat. I'll be monitoring that as the panelists are giving their presentations. Somebody had asked about how to turn the mics on. We do have everybody muted because currently we're at 95 people. And if we didn't, it would get really loud and there'd be a ton of background noise. So we do have everyone muted, but if you have any questions, you go ahead again and put it in the Q&A, put it in the chat. We'll try to answer everything live tonight because we know you have a lot of questions that you probably want answered. But if we can't, we'll follow up after. Always happy to have a conversation. And if we don't know the answer tonight, we'll make sure to get it for you and follow up. So my name is Jessica Nicklin. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Success. Many of you might remember me from orientation, the Welcome Program. If you haven't seen me already, you will be seeing me very soon. I can't believe it. I'll be joining or starting my 12th year coming up. And I love the University of Hartford. It's home. And I'm so excited to welcome you as well. So in my former life, I was a faculty member, so it's really fun kind of being in an administrative role, but also coming from faculty and kind of knowing both sides. And my background is organizational psychology. So everything we're going through kind of in the world right now, I'm using a lot of my organizational psychology skills to help us navigate it. So in my role, student success, I oversee first and second year programming. I partner with all the fine people on the call tonight. I oversee the Counseling Center, Center for Student Success, the Tutoring Center, our health and wellness services, and our accessibility services. So happy to also answer any questions about those areas should they come up. So, when practicing, we want to try to keep things as natural as possible. I'm not sure how many of you have attended some of these other sessions. So, I encourage my panelists, if you want to jump in at any point, we don't have to be super rigid. We're trying to keep people awake at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We don't want people falling asleep. There's no quiz at the end. So panelists, please feel free to come off mute and jump in at any point. We want it to be conversational. Throw those questions in the Q&A. We'll address them as we go. And we'll probably also save some for the end. So one other thing before we begin is, the guidelines and regulations, as you'll see, and as you know from following the news, are changing every day. So, tonight's presentation is based on what we know today, which actually changed, about an hour before we were preparing to get on the phone for this call. So again, we're going through material and our procedures and policies based on what we know right now. And if you have questions or ideas or thoughts, send them our way, and we'll stay up to date and update you on things as they progress. So without further ado, I'm really excited to prepare you to live on campus. And we're going to start with our university dining services partners. And I feel very excited because it's like we're on a field trip with these guys because they're literally bringing us into the workplace, into their kitchen. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, Jeff and Catherine.
Excellent. Thanks, Jess. Appreciate the introduction. So my name is Jeff LeBlanc. I am the Director of Operations here on campus for dining. Oversee all of our operations. We have about 10 operations on campus. And Kate?
Hi, I'm the Assistant Food Service Director for our retail locations, and I'm also our social media champion.
Yeah, and today, really what we wanted to do is kind of get you guys through the lens of our kitchen. We decided that we would do this a long time ago and make sure that, you know, we could kind of show you into our station. So actually we're broadcasting live, our newscast as we'll call it, from the oven station of our residential dining hall at Commons. I wish you guys could see the view outside. We have a really nice sunset going on right now, and just really a focus area of our location. So wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some of our campus community favorites on campus. Our Hawks Nest location is downstairs in this building. Really, really great location. It's a late night operation. We have, you know, burgers, we have wings, we have pizzas, and all different kinds of specials down there for your students to enjoy. We also have a Starbucks on campus that's located in the Mortensen Library. Amazing, amazing place. It's actually the second busiest Starbucks in all of Connecticut, believe it or not. So, you know, parents, be reassured if your students are going to Starbucks, and they're probably going to the library as well. So hopefully they'll be getting a little bit studying on and not just partaking in some of the food there. But amazing location and one of our busiest. Einstein Brothers Bagels on campus. We've had this brand here for about 7 years on campus. Fantastic breakfast sandwiches, fantastic salads. We do pizza bagels there, all different kinds of things, different drinks, frozen drinks, regular espresso drinks, and coffee beverages. So really, really great location. Our Gengris Cafe is really the hub for all of our retail locations on campus. Has a lot of different homegrown brands. It's also home to our Moe's Southwest Grill that we installed about 3 years ago. We do have a brand called Burger Studio where students would go up and actually do basically they touch a screen and they order all of their things and build their sandwiches right on a screen that sends it to our kitchen in the back, and we send out the order. We have a Subway on campus. It's part of our Conover building that also has a grocery store on campus. Very busy late night operation. Anything that you see in a regular Subway, you would see there. So really, really busy location, great spot. It's in the hub of a lot of our upperclassmen on campus and where they live. And then the Fresh Food Company, which is where we are today at our Commons location. And we had a renovation here about 5 years ago. A lot of the stations here were built to basically be able to be customizable, right? So in the beginning, campus dining was all about creating food out back and then taking it out front. We actually brought the kitchen out front and into the dining room so that our guests can see exactly what we're doing. They can customize things. I myself is a picky eater. So, you know, if I want something omitted or I have a dietary restriction or an allergy or something like that, it's very easy to customize, very easy to see. And be able to talk to the associates. So really great renovation that we had. We've been adding little things, little bits and pieces every single year to basically make sure we're up with all the trends and innovations in dining. And you know, we're really excited for your students to come on campus. If you guys have specific questions, please feel free to ask throughout this. I'm going to be very organic. Kate and I are going to kind of feed off of each other if we have questions or we want to add to the slide. So please don't hesitate to put something in the chat, and we'll keep it going and keep it fresh. So
Jeff and Kate, we already have a question.
Yes.
So which of these, and you might get to this, I see the next slide, which of these dining options are part of the dining plan?
So all of these brands are part of the dining plan. Most first-year students are defaulted to the 7-day all access, and I know Kate will touch on that on her next slide. So they would be, you know, visiting the Fresh Food Company the most, but you can use dining dollars in these locations. A lot of our meal plans have what are called meal equivalencies, and those could be used at all of our retail locations. So your dining plan is attached to these brands in one way, shape, or form, all of them. I'll turn it over to Kate to start talking a little bit more about her slides.
Well, we move on to the next one. So I think meal plans are probably one of the most asked about topics for dining. And so I'm going to try and give you a quick overview right now of the plans, but if you have any questions, definitely let us know. We have two types of plans on campus. There's the all access plans and our block plans. So as an incoming first-year student, you're going to default to the 7-day all-access plan. All access means that you can come and go into the Commons dining hall as you please. So throughout the semester, throughout the day, you can come in as much as you want. You can come in for a snack or just a drink or anything like that. You have unlimited full access to the Commons dining hall. And then our block plans, the difference between those is you have a set number of meal swipes that you can use to access the Commons throughout the semester. Our dining dollars are included with all of our meal plans. Depending on the plan you're on, there's a set amount that comes with your plan. And our dining dollars work just like a dollar for dollar value. And you can come in, those are primarily used at our retail locations. You can come in and purchase a meal or a drink. We also have a market on campus that you can use your dining dollars at and purchase snacks or drinks for your dorm room as well. And then we get into meal equivalencies, which Jeff touched on a little bit. Those you're going to be able to use at our retail location. So instead of spending those dining dollars, you can come in and use a meal swipe at our retail locations and purchase a meal. So for example, you could come into Subway and get chips and a drink, and that would come with a meal swipe instead of paying with your dining dollars.
Yeah, and one of the great things I like to talk about the all access plans are, especially first-year students. All students are first-year students are defaulted to the 7-day all-access plan, and you can upgrade at any time. But what we wanted to do is really take the guesswork out and any kind of animosity or any kind of nerves that your students may have. So this gives them the access for however many hours we're open here at Commons. They can come in here 5 times. I'm a breakfast guy personally, so I come and get a cup of coffee and maybe a piece of hand fruit. Go to class, come back, and maybe get an omelet or something like that. So, we really design that for the flexibility. Your students should be worried about, making friends, networking, worried about, talking about with their professors and their classes. They shouldn't have to worry about, when they're going to get a next meal or having to budget those types of meals. So that's really how the all access plans were actually built. And as they progress through their career at the university, there's all types of different plans. There's plans for people that may work on the weekends that are off of campus. There's also plans where they can have a higher amount of dining dollars. Kate mentioned that they have access to a market on campus, so they can purchase produce, they can purchase proteins, and they can cook for the folks that are in their dorm. So really, really kind of built the way that we really wanted to a couple of years ago when we redesigned these plans. To give folks the flexibility. We don't want to pigeonhole somebody into a meal plan that really just doesn't work for them or work for their needs that may be outside the classroom.
Jeff and Kate, a question is, what's the difference between the premium 7-day and the unlimited 7-day?
So that's a really good question. The 7-day basic plan is what you're going to default to, and then when you upgrade to the premium plan, you get a lot of extras, including meal equivalencies. So that's a big one that you're definitely, students want. That was something that was really in demand. Students requested, that ability to be able to have more flexibility and go outside the Commons and use their meal swipes as they please around campus instead of just limited to Commons dining location.
It also gives them some more perks as far as there's more dining dollars. It also gets them into a couple specific programs that we have on campus too. And please, as you guys get to the end of our slides, you're going to see a QR code, and if you snap that QR code, it brings you right to our Campus Dish website that can give you more information about these programs. But we have a program called PDR, which is our private dining room night. Kate will touch on that a little bit later in the presentation. This gets them, really quick access to those and really preferential access to it. We send it out. Students can sign up for it. It's a 4-course meal. They basically all it takes is a meal swipe from them. They just sign up. A lot of times they sign up with their friends or their suite mates. It's a really great night, and it's something that I know Max and I know the rest of the residential life team has joined as a group, and they've even made date nights out of it for certain folks. So it's really a lot of fun. Also, our sizzle program gives them 2 free sizzles on the premium plan. The 2 free sizzles are basically an upcharge that's here at the residential facility. If you guys have made it over to Commons, we have basically a station that works like Texas Roadhouse. We have different cuts of meat, we have different protein options, different seafood options. but it's really just an add-on. So this actually gives them 2 free meals. They can get a 16-ounce ribeye, they can get a 10-ounce filet mignon, or 12-ounce New York strip steak. We do things like scallops, stuffed portobello mushroom caps, all those different things to try to elevate the program a little bit. So when you're looking at a meal plan, I would tell you that that's probably our most gravitated towards plans. Once students get here, they want to have those extras. They want to be able to go to Starbucks and get a meal equivalency and not have to spend their dining dollars as much.
The premium plan is the only one that has Starbucks meals.
Yep.
So I know you're going to talk about dietary needs, which is a really common question among many of our students that's coming up, but also be thinking about, naturally, a lot of parents and students are asking, what's going to be open with the COVID restrictions, and are students going to even be able to eat in the cafeteria? So before we transition to Res Life, if you guys could touch on that a little bit, that would be really appreciated.
Of course. Kate's going to talk a little bit about dietary restrictions, things like that. Right now, I'm your point of contact, so I know up on the screen, my email address is on there. You can also get my information on our website at the end. We do have a lot of our locations that will be open. We'll be opening up a hybrid system. So right now in the state of Connecticut, we can have 50% dining in our locations or capacity. We have technology that will help us do that. Basically, when students come in and out of our location, we get an electronic count. And we have a counter right at the register that tells our cashier that it's free to have folks come in and out. So what we do have here, we actually started last year, is reusable to-go containers. So all of our students can, if they don't feel comfortable dining in, they can absolutely take a to-go container. We're using eco-friendly to-go containers as well. We also can have China service as well. So we're doing a little bit of both, and really kind of giving students that opportunity to make that decision on their own. And they don't have to feel uncomfortable in any sort of way when they're coming to our location. So all of our locations will have that kind of component. They'll be able to dine in as long as the Connecticut guidelines approve of that. And we will also be doing in a lot of our retail locations, we are working with an app that's called Grubhub. I know a lot of students and even yourselves may be using this, and they can order all their food ahead of time when they're in class, on their way from class to the dining hall. They can order basically whatever they want, and it'll be ready for them when they get there. Really to help with social distancing, helping out with any kind of foot traffic that may be here. We're installing kiosks. We're also installing Grubhub TVs in specific academic buildings and places on campus that are popular, so that students have that little bit of flexibility, and they can actually be looking at things and making the right decisions ahead of time. So great question. We have a lot of things, and I know we'll touch on it later on the presentation as well about some of the other things we're doing. So really quickly, Kate will talk on special dietary needs and restrictions on campus, and then we'll keep going on to some of the things that we're doing on campus to help.
So with special dietary needs, I think the most important thing to know for parents is that we're here for you. As far as dining services goes, we'll do anything we can to accommodate you, and there's no allergy and there's no food restriction that we can't accommodate. So I think, when you're dealing with food allergies, dining services can be hard to navigate to begin with, and then you add in food allergies and it can be a little overwhelming. We always are here to help the kids, and we definitely recommend, if you have an allergy, to reach out to us, send us an email, have a meeting with us. We're glad to set that up. We're glad to help you and work with you. And really, since dietary needs are so specific to individuals, it's the best way to get help and to learn everything that we have to offer is just to reach out to us specifically about your direct needs, so that we can help you the best we can and make sure that you're getting everything you need out of your meal plan.
Yeah, and we have a dietitian on campus. She works very closely with our athletics team. We do personalized meal plans for anybody. So, myself, including my chef manager and our culinary team, we will meet with the individuals. We'll kind of walk them around campus and around the different locations. Two of the most, prevalent food insecurities are we talk about made without gluten, and then we also talk about dairy restrictions. So we have tons and tons of different things. When we talked about batch cooking up front, that is really what that's built on, right? So if we have something that may have dairy in it, we can omit that. We have dairy alternatives. Almost every single one of our stations has made without gluten options. So if we're doing a pasta bar one night, we'll have gluten-free pasta, gluten-free sauce, different proteins available. So all the typical things that folks would get if they didn't have any food allergies or insecurities, we will absolutely have that available to them as well. Almost 10 to 15% of our students actually have some sort of food allergy or food intolerance. So, no ask is too small. Please get a hold of us. We like students to come really quickly and talk to us in the beginning and not wait for a week or two. It really helps them a lot, even if it's just a quick 5-minute tour from one of our folks to kind of help them navigate through the operation. So, and then I wanted to touch on some of the enhanced safety guidelines that we're doing. So we are sanitizing all of our high touch surfaces every 20 minutes. We have enhanced team member training that we're going through. We have a 2-day training with our folks before they come back about everything that's changed in our operations. Increased hand washing frequency. I like to always talk about this. What we do in dining services, this is really nothing new for us. The only difference is for our folks they'll be putting on a mask and they'll be social distancing. Everything else we've already done, right? So we've protected against foodborne illness. We've protected against cross-contamination. So a lot of the things that are coming down with these safety guidelines, our team is already trained on those things. We have allergy training for all of our folks. So please be rest assured that we're here to help your students, and we can do everything we can. We have no-touch payment options that are going to be available at all of our locations. We have daily employee health verifications and screenings on campus. I touched on the mobile ordering and some of the technology pieces with the occupancy system. We have touchless beverage options that are going to be available. We have beacons that are going to let our folks know in the dining room and some of our beverage locations that every 20 minutes it needs to be cleaned and sanitized. So, they're not using a stopwatch. There's actually going to be a visual and some technology behind it. And then we're going to put plexiglass barriers wherever 6-foot distancing is not possible. So we've already been working with a whole crew that is on campus that are installing these barriers, and they look great, and they're almost seamless. You don't almost really notice that they're there. So all these things and then more as we get more guidelines. I know that Jill and her team, things are changing every hour for her team. They're changing in dining too. So be rest assured that we're going to be ready for your students when they get to campus.
Thank you, guys. And I know you want to talk about all the fun stuff, but right now we're dealing with some not so fun stuff. So when Jill and Max and her team were talking, there's a ton of questions in the Q&A. If you guys want to jump in and answer those, or we could also follow up after. So if you check that out, that would be awesome. Any last words from our dining folks?
No, we're really happy for you guys to be here. We're excited. Scan the QR code if you guys would like some more information, or go to hartford.campusdish.com. I really want to preface that we are going to do everything we can to keep your students safe. We have quarantine plans in place. We have mass feeding things in place. So we have pretty much everything you can think of. We've had a team of folks working since the middle of March to make sure that we have this return to campus ready to go. So. And if you guys have any questions throughout the process, any questions throughout the movement process, we'll be here to help.
Great, thank you. So as we transition to residential life, I see a lot of questions coming in about that. So I think Max has been answering some already, Jill as well. And just to let everyone know who's on, we also have someone from the Bursar's office and someone from athletics on tonight to answer questions. And we're also joined by 2 students, which I think is fun to get a different perspective. So I will go ahead and turn it over to the residential life folks to walk us through coming to campus.
Well, good evening. We're so excited for all of you to be here this evening. My name is Jill Engel-Hellman, and I'm the new director of residential life. I'm starting my 6th week in this position, and I already love being here at UHart. So I know that it's going to be a great year. I'll let the others that are on the call introduce themselves as well.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Max Koskoff. I am the Assistant Director of Residential Life here for Community Development. I've been in this role. This is going to be starting my 4th year, first year though in a pandemic. And then I also was a staff member here previously for 5 years, and I am actually currently getting my 2nd master's here for business administration. So I know a thing or two about the institution, and I can't wait to answer some more questions in the chat.
Hello, my name is Atasek. I'm an RA for Hawk Hall. I'm a biomedical engineering major. I'm currently a senior, well, rising senior. And I lived in Crandall in A neighborhood my freshman year.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt, Matt Glassoff. I am a rising senior as well in the health science and physical therapy program here at Hartford. I am a freshman RA. I'm going to be in A and B neighborhood, in Olmsted building in specific. And I've lived in a couple of buildings freshman year and throughout my years on campus. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. So a little bit of information about our office. We are an office that really focuses not only on the living experience, but the learning that happens within that experience and the out of classroom experience. And there's lots to be learned there. We really focus on helping students to learn how to demonstrate self-awareness and advocacy, develop constructive relationships across difference, and contribute to complex communities. RDs and RAs, they are here to help. So Max, can you talk a little bit about RDs, and Ada and Matt, can you talk a little bit about RAs?
Absolutely. So I am fortunate enough to have 5 full-time staff members all supervise one area of campus that we have. So our areas of campus are the A and B neighborhoods. Some of you most likely have been referred to as complexes. They are also referred to as neighborhoods, though they're interchangeable. So in the first tier areas, we have 3 different neighborhoods: A and B neighborhoods, C and D neighborhoods, and then Hawk Hall, and then the E neighborhood. So those are our 3 areas. Each one has a full-time staff member to work with your students, to help support your students, to advocate for your students. Also, though, to build relationships with your students and build that community that we want. And we recognize that this year is going to be a little bit more difficult in that, but we're up for that challenge. And these 3 staff members were chosen specifically for that experience of building those relationships with students in those areas. They oversee each staff between 13 and 16 RAs, and those RAs, which they'll talk about their job in about a minute, are really the foundation, the front lines, if you will, of building that community and carrying out that supervisor's vision. One other important note, and something that often is a comfort to parents alike, is we have a full-time staff member on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We are one of the 2 offices that always has a staff member on, the other being public safety. So if there's an emergency, we will help your student, whether it's 24, any day, daytime, night, doesn't matter. We're there to help your student and support your student in that time of need. So Ada and Matt, you want to talk about the RA role?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start it off, and Ada can jump in as well. Basically, I like to think of the RAs as like on-ground troops, front lines, but also as a resource. I think there can be a stigma around what people think about of what RAs are. Yeah, part of our job is enforcing rules and regulations in a lot of the residential halls. However, I like to think of myself as more of a resource for the students. I've worked with freshmen for the past 2 years, and again this year. And they have a lot of questions. And I think I'd encourage you to send all of your students, if they have any questions, a quick question, a concern, especially as you begin freshman year, to come find their RA. I think RAs are always open. We're on 24/7. There's always an RA on 24/7. We're not all on 24/7, but there's always someone to respond to a concern, or if they have a question, we're always around. We do nightly walkthroughs every building, and so we're very there for the students. We do programming for the students, both fun and educational ones. Anything we can do to build community. I think that's one of our top gears. That's kind of something that during our training, that's kind of a big focal point, is making sure that we're not only there to enforce the rules and to be there to support the students, but also help student-to-student connection and building community, which is kind of one of the biggest things, and I know a lot of people have concerns about will I make friends in school and especially freshman year. And we're here to help the students for that, and help them find the right niche, point them to the right club, or connect them with the right kids that might also be similar. And so that's kind of the rundown. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, so since us RAs are living with the residents, we have like that personal connection with each and every resident in our building and on our floors. Like I've worked in Hawk Hall for the past 2 years, and it's gonna be the third. It's gonna be a little different this year because there's no RLCs or um, uh, the RLCs were like, oh, there was some sorry. There was some group of students that were living in one side that were like the honors. There was another side with STEM, which was my RLC. Um, and our goal this semester and the next semester is to really focus on how COVID is going to really change that, and we're going to have to like um, tackle that whole situation with the help of the CDC guidance and stuff like that. Um, but a job of an RA is like pretty much to make everyone feel comfortable and heard. Like if students have like roommate conflicts or stuff like that, or like there's like a little discourse in the floor, like they always come to us and we are the ones that fix the problem. And if we can't fix it, we either send it off to the RD or PS. And we're just really there to help everyone feel comfortable in their living space and in the university as a whole.
Thank you so much. And I think it is clear that if students have questions, the first place we should send them is to their RA. It's a really great resource to have on campus. So in terms of community living, and I think Matt and Nada already have touched on this, that students will be sharing space with others, restrooms, bedroom, potentially common areas. And when I do these sessions live, I frequently ask how many students have shared space before with siblings, and many people have come from having their own bedroom. So it is a transition, and it's one of those things that does take a little bit of time to work through. Again, RAs are there to help, but it's not always easy as we do it. The process can be a little bit challenging, and then throughout the year it evolves. And I will say sometimes things are good, and other times, there's some bumps along the road. And we really encourage you to encourage your student to work with their RA and others on the community or within the community to work through those issues. We'd like to say each student has both rights and responsibilities. Because we want each student in our community to have a rightful and recognized place in their community and to feel welcome. Our communities are for all of our students, not just some. RAs really facilitate a lot of things: community agreements, roommate agreements, monthly meetings. They are in constant contact with their residents, and although it may look a little bit different in terms of the virtual piece and social distancing, that will still happen. Like to say there's 3 C's of community living: compromise, communication, and commitment. And again, I think we need your help as families and parents and others that work with students to really encourage them to work through conflict, which can oftentimes be a bit uncomfortable. So there's lots of ways to get involved on campus. Ada, can you start with ways that you would get involved in terms of the unit? And then Matt, can you follow up with RHA?
Yeah, sure. For community engagement for the unit slash building, educational conversations with RAs. Like we go up to all of our residents and discuss certain topics every month. There's monthly floor meetings where we like it's like a rundown or like a summary of the things that are happening on campus and information that the residents might need to know. Active and passive programs like how to do laundry and staying safe on campus is also things that we tell the residents on how to do and like stuff like that. Community building activities such as like RAs are responsible for doing programs every month and every like semester. Uh, Different programs that I've done in before is like karaoke, like craft nights. There was one that I did. There was like a good noodle board where they like earned stars and like got prizes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's stuff that we do. Oh, I think it skipped the slide.
Jess, can you move that back, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask when I went to unmute myself, I'm sorry, I forwarded to the next slide. So we're still planning programming with appropriate social distancing. So there'll be still be activities, still be programs. They just might look a little different.
Yeah.
And I'll take that in a couple of minutes, Jess.
Okay, great. Thanks, Max.
And online contests through Instagram. So what we've done in the past is like each RLC or each building would have their own Instagram page, and like we would do like interactive like polls on Instagram and posting some of our residents doing stuff at our programs, and a lot of fun.
All right, yeah, and going off Ada, so that's kind of the, a lot of those unit and building programs will take place kind of on a smaller scale, ran by specific RAs for specific buildings at times. RHA programs tend to be on the little bit of a bigger scale. So RHA, they run a lot of programs around campus for all students. I know one of their, biggest popular events that they host a couple times a year is like a bingo event where we have lots of great prizes, like prizes that people like would fight over. AirPods, technology, printers, stuff for the dorm rooms. That's always a huge hit. And then so they also run trips. Like last year they ran a basketball trip to a Celtics game. So they sponsor a lot of those big events around campus that are always very popular. Um, Furthermore, they also have more specific RHAs for specific halls, and that's kind of where the residents can kind of come in into a leadership position, side by side with resident directors and grad assistants, and they work together to form like an RHA for a specific living area. They can run for a position on their RHA for wherever they're living, and they'll have weekly meetings. There'll be like a president, a vice president, different kind of roles like a board, um, and they'll work together with the RHA budget to run programs for that hall area. So, for example, if I'm going to be in A and B neighborhood, if I'm a freshman year student and I want to be involved with RHA for A and B, I'll be able to attend meetings weekly and have a say and a role in putting on events for the A and B neighborhood. So there's a lot of cool opportunity for students to meet other students in this way, but also come into a leadership position and get a voice in what they want. As RAs, we're always constantly trying to figure out what our residents want, programs that they're going to attend. We want to give them that. So that's another great way that students can voice their opinion on, do I want a laser tag night on campus? I think that was another program they ran. Do I want a movie night? Do I want to go off campus to a basketball game or stuff like that? So really anything's possible. We'll make it work. And it's a really cool opportunity.
Can I hand that off to you?
Can you go back a slide, Jess? Sorry. Thank you. So one thing that I think is important here is we are still trying to develop that community, because part of, even though the safety that we all need in life today, part of this is that connection. We need students to have some sort of connection, whether to an RA, a peer, and we just don't want students to come here and get stuck behind their door, essentially, with no other connections to the world, which I think is one of the reasons why I'm still wanting to talk about programming in this environment, because it is important for the mental side of things. In regards to campus partners and opportunities that present itself, Jess, we took over the rock painting program, so that way students can leave their mark here at the University of Hartford. And we also collaborate, obviously, with our athletics department, our dining services team, our Center for Student Success. We're here to make sure that your students are successful in all aspects of their collegiate career. Now we can go to the next slide, Jeff. So our options for first-year housing is we have doubles, obviously in Hawk Hall and in neighborhoods A through E. There are around 540 plus beds for that type of environment. Singles, a true single, as in the room is built as a single, there are around 70 of those. Those are only in each neighborhood. And then in super singles, so this is almost singles that are built for two people, furniture, rooms, furniture stays, but all of the other stuff only has one person. We have about 400 of those around campus. And those are the ones that I think the next slide will kind of talk about pricing in that. There we go. So I believe there also was a webinar about this as well. So the double room rate is what you see, same thing for single, same thing for the super single. Our July bills, because we had to roll over room assignments before the actual bill portion, did not reflect this. But when you have August bills, they will be reflected upon this new, if you so choose to go to a single or a super single rate. Jill, I think this is you.
Sure. So just as an option for parents and families, we know that some families have certainly expressed interest in a single for many different reasons this year. We wanted to let you know there is still plenty of time to sign up for that. And, you know, just a couple of highlights that, you know, if you have your own room, you can decorate the way you want. You can set your own schedule and rules for your space. There will be a number of single rooms on floors, so people will not be isolated and certainly will not be alone in being with in singles. If you have selected a roommate, this is something that we have worked on recently. We are going to do our very best if both of you select single rooms to house you near each other so that you will have to be able to see one another and interact with another, but in separate spaces. And if you are interested in looking at a room, Max will put the link in the chat box so that you are able to see that. I've also seen some questions about safety, and I want to reassure parents that we are going to talk about that a little bit. We are still finalizing some of the details of what those things will look like. We are very carefully working with experts from the state and Hartford Healthcare, which is the largest healthcare system in the state of Connecticut, to develop those processes. We have some of those things that we will be sharing with you tonight that we have not released already. And then we have other things that we are still working on, and I will be able to comment on what those things too. And those answers will be coming shortly, but only after we're able to make careful and thoughtful decisions. We know that parents are very concerned about safety, so are we. Because we all have families as well and friends that we want to keep safe. So we'll be talking about that. Next slide, please. So fall assignments, we've been getting lots of questions as to when those will be coming out. They will be coming out by the end of the month, and it is a big puzzle to put those together. As I mentioned before, a need that students expressed was to be near if they were in a single, other students that they had wanted to previously live with as a roommate. The other piece that we're trying to do is, I know that some students were disappointed that we are not able to have RLCs this year, but our very talented assignments team will also be working to group those students together as much as possible within Hawk Hall, but then also going into some of our neighborhoods, because students have said, you know, I was really excited about living with other students that would be like me. And so if we can still put people around one another, we think that that will be great. When you receive your fall housing assignment by the end of the month, it will include your room and building, the cost of your housing assignment, your post office box, and your roommate's name and Hartford email if that's applicable. So what to bring? This is a year that we are going to encourage you and what we will call a 2 duffel bag year and not 2 carloads. We know that students oftentimes bring a lot of items to campus, but we are going to have a different move-in process this year. And we also want students to remember that they will be leaving before Thanksgiving break. So that means while you will need some clothes that will be cold weather clothes, you do not need to bring your whole wardrobe. And also students will need to be able to take, move, store, ship all belongings home or to their place of, location of choice if needed. Certainly we do not hope that's what happens, but we want people to be mindful when they come that they are bringing items that they could easily take home with them, take to another location, or they could store on their own. In terms of just some of the key pieces to bring, identification is really important, some money, insurance card, which I would encourage your student to take a picture of that, keep it on their phone. They always have their phones, even if they don't have their insurance card and other things. And then a backpack or some way to keep all those items together. Toiletries, we have listed those. Laundry, we provide laundry as part of the housing cost. So you don't need to bring quarters or load extra money to do that, but you will need to bring laundry soap, bleach, whatever students use to wash their clothes. Medical supplies, something that will be very important this year, from Band-Aids to a thermometer, so students can self-monitor their symptoms. They will be expected to self-monitor symptoms and log into LiveSafe, which is an app on campus, to record that they have self-monitored that day and that they are not reporting any symptoms. They need to bring medicines over the counter, or if you have prescription medications, tissues, and certainly masks. Students will be receiving one mask from the institution that will be branded, but they will likely need to bring others so they can wash them and have backups in the event they don't know where a mask is. Bedding, we have twin extra long sheets because we have extra long beds. And then just a list of potential electronics that students may want to bring, and a note that the alarm clock needs to be something that will actually wake up your student. So I've seen as many as 3 alarm clocks for students to get them out of bed. And just as a reminder, the RAs are not alarm clocks. We do not have service that you can wake up service. So they will need to be able to do that themselves. And if they happen to be living with a roommate and sharing space, they will need to talk about whether or not they're bringing larger items, and if so, who is bringing those.
Jill, this conversation always makes me laugh because I think back when I went to college and we had a minivan. I was the first in my family, but we had a minivan and a turtle top full of stuff. I brought all my winter sweaters, everything you can ever imagine, and then my roommates pull up in a car with a few bags in a trunk. And I remember my dad is still complaining about that day today. So I mean, it really, I think one of the best pieces of advice I've heard is pack up everything you want to bring and then put back 3/4 of it, because you really only want to bring, what you really need, especially now.
Right, and I think it goes to essentialism. So really thinking about those pieces of what is essential, and then deciding if you want to bring other things. So this is new information that has not been shared. You are the first to get it. We are going to have, and this starts to explain what some of our safety procedures will be. We have the option for early drop-off this year. And so what that means, between Saturday, August 15th and Wednesday, August 19th, a total of 5 days, students will be able to sign up for one time slot between 8:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. The last time slot will be at 4:30 because you have to be off campus by 8:30. Students will participate in a drive-through process to get their key and to sign the housing contract that we have. That will be done mostly online, and there will be something to sign, but that will be handled, that will put the contract into a plastic container. We will give that to students with social distance, allow people to sign it. We will be having clean pens and dirty pens. So when the pens come to us, they'll go into a bin to be washed before we share them with someone else. And then we will put the contract in another location and then provide you with your keys. Students will have up to 4 hours to drop off belongings and to set up their room, suite, or apartment. Students may bring up to 3 people from their current household, and it's key to say from their current household, because this is the people that you share germs with. You cannot bring friends, you cannot bring people that you are not normally associating with on a regular basis to help. Roommates, suite mates, apartment mates must sign up for different time slots and cannot be present at the same time. This is really important, and we will be working very hard to have the time slots spread out across campus so that people will not be running into each other, and we can keep the density of the halls as low as possible. The sign up for this process will be available after assignments are emailed out to students by the end of the month. And then students that participate in this process will come back to campus beginning on Monday, August 24th. There will be an express lane where they will just go through to pick up their keys again with all of the social distancing measures in place. And this will be done outside as well, so not in an enclosed space. At this time, students will need to provide a negative test within the last 14 days of arrival. And there will be more information coming from our health providers and medical professionals on what that will look like and how you can submit that information. Masks must be worn at all times by all individuals that are involved and on campus, and social distancing will be strictly enforced. If there are issues with that, we will be working with students and or guests to make sure that that is immediately addressed, and it will be taken very seriously, and if there are issues, addressed even potentially with our conduct system, although we hope that that won't be the case. We need to say that there may be additional restrictions for household members from states with travel restrictions, just like there may be additional restrictions for our students from states with travel restrictions. We are working through those details right now with our healthcare providers and medical professionals, and also looking at the guidance from the state. We had some new guidance that was released late Friday. Many of us did not get it until today. So we have not had a chance to fully work through that to see what that will mean in terms of our policies. In fact, that's one of the reasons that we haven't released a lot of specific policies, is we didn't want to have to change them. We wanted to be able, when we shared them, hopefully, for them to be as accurate as possible. So you can choose to do early drop-off. We suspect that some individuals who live further from campus will not want to do that and will want to just do move-in. So Jess, can you move to the next slide, please? So move-in for incoming first year and transfer students will take place on Sunday, August 23rd and Monday, August 24th. Students will again sign up for one time slot between 8:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m., last time slot of 6:30 p.m. Students will participate again in this drive-through process where they will sign a contract and pick up their keys. At this time, a negative test within the last 14 days of arrival must be provided. So there won't be an option at this point to come onto campus unless we know that you have had a negative test within the last 14 days. Students will have up to 2 hours to move into their room. This is because there will be more people on campus at this point. And again, we are looking very carefully at our density of the halls. Students may only have one person from their current household inside their building and or room at any given time. If you bring more than one person, that person that is in the room will have to leave in order for another person to come in. Roommates, suite mates, and apartment mates must sign up for different time slots. And again, that's to not have that density. And we will be encouraging roommates to not be present as the other student is moving in and there are other members of their household present. Again, the sign-up process will be available after assignments are emailed to students, and masks must be worn at all times. Social distancing will be strictly enforced. Again, there may be additional restrictions to household members from states with travel restrictions, and we are working through that right now. Some just brief information about testing. Right now, students must have and submit proof of a negative COVID test that's at least 72 hours prior to their arrival on campus, but no more than 2 weeks prior. We are carefully following the governor's orders regarding out-of-state students and quarantine guidelines, and it is possible that there will be quarantine of students that are not from the state and or that are from states with travel restrictions. We will know more. I think the big question that people have asked us is, can you quarantine on campus? And the answer is yes, you can. We are in the process of setting up that process and exactly what that will look like, but that can happen on campus, and we are following those guidelines as well. Again, this information is subject to change based on guidance from the state. Just a couple of other pieces that I think are important with regards to safety. We have decreased the number of students that are living in our first year areas, particularly in Hawk Hall and the neighborhoods A through D, based on how those are structured. Really what we have done is we have looked at bathrooms and how students share those spaces, because that's one place that when students are grooming, that they may not have their mask on their face. So we have worked very hard to look at the total number of fixtures in the restrooms and then match the number of students to those spaces. So we have dramatically reduced the amount of students that will be living in Hawk. Usually it's over 200, we're down to 124 with a number of singles, actually more singles than doubles on those floors. And the same thing goes within the neighborhoods A through D. Again, we wanted to de-densify and to limit the number of students that are using those restrooms so that we keep those household units, within 6 to 8 students. That's been our guideline.
Yeah, and just to add to testing, this has come a long way in the past, I would say, week. And we mentioned this earlier, but Hartford Healthcare is already our on-campus provider for health services. So that puts us at a really great advantage in terms of having access to resources, knowledge, partnership, and actually getting tests done and, being able to support students and, preserve health and wellness. So just to emphasize, all students will be required to have a negative test, to produce a negative test. Ideally, we'll upload it through our secure portal that we're working on, 14 days. And I know some people are probably thinking, wow, that's a long time. Ideally, we'd love it to be 72 hours, and so would the state. But we also recognize that in some states that it's taking, 7 days, 10 days to get test results back. So we have to be realistic. So sure, the closer you can get to 72 hours, the happier we will be, but we really want you to come with that negative test. You need to come with that negative test. So, as long as it's within 14 days, and that's to your move in, not to drop off, that's to your move in. And, again, we just got literally, I think an hour before this meeting, update about the quarantine guidelines from the governor. So we are working through what are the implications of that for, higher education. And so are all of our peer institutions. We're all in this together. We're working on it together. And we're going to follow all the state and local guidelines, while, just doing what we have to do to ensure that the health and wellness. And we will be doing testing throughout the semester. So especially for residential students, there'll be random sampling of students each week that will be asked to come in for a test. Hartford Healthcare will be doing that. That will happen at no charge to the students. So if you win the lottery, you don't get a bill with that. And we also will have symptomatic testing on campus. So similar to strep test or flu test that you might get, if you were not feeling well, the COVID testing will be available through Hartford Healthcare on campus as well. So, we're working, like Jill said, we're working through all the steps all day, every day. And I know that marketing communication is planning for, specific testing correspondence to come out, I believe, this week. And, all of these little like blips and little pieces of information you've been hearing, I know you're going to get blasted pretty soon with a lot of detailed information as, we continue to learn and finalize these plans. And I understand, how frustrating it could be because you want to know, what are we doing? How are we ensuring safety? And, all I can tell you is that we are doing it. We are on it. We are closely monitoring the situation, and it is all coming together. So I just wanted to mention a little more about the testing stuff, because that's kind of what I feel like living and breathing the past few weeks.
Absolutely. And I think it's just really important to know that safety is our top priority. So today Max and I think spent several hours working through guidelines, working through details, working with our Dean of Students and other medical professionals and individuals that do this on campus to really try to finalize this move-in and early drop-off process, but we do have a ways to go. We're still working on our guest policy and what that will look like in residential spaces as well as across campus. That information will be coming soon, but again, we want to be very thoughtful about what that looks like, and it needs to be something that doesn't just work for residential spaces, although there may be some additional guidelines there, but it needs to be something that is outlined very carefully. And we want to provide a lot of detail with that. Also, all of this information will be going to students with some communications from our marketing and communications office. We've been working very closely with them to be able to share some emails and post information, and we will continue to do that so that students know what they need to do and are aware, but also families can stay informed. So resources, Max?
Sorry, I was responding to a question. Yes, resources. In the chat, I put in 2 links. One is a virtual housing tour. The second is the bring and do not bring list. It is on the Moving to Campus website. That is going off of old data at this point because this information is so new. We weren't able to refresh the website yet. So it is bringing up old data about what we would have hoped move-in would have looked like, but sadly we're not there. Couple of other resources I want to mention. One is most students and parents got a letter from on-campus marketing about linens and care packages. Linen packages are available, twin Excel sheets. Some places don't have them. So it's a weird size in some places. And so on-campus marketing can allow you to order sheets or pillowcases or comforters at a rate, and then you can even have them shipped here for your students. So that way on move-in day, the mailroom, they'll just arrive right there and you can go pick them up, as in hoping not to have more items in your car. The other item or resource that I want to mention is Microfridge. Microfridge, you may have gotten a physical mail copy about their brochure. Microfridge is a company that we work with that will come drop off a microwave and refrigerator in your student's room and then pick it up at the end of the year. So you basically rent the fridge instead of for people traveling long ways, or you just don't want to lift a fridge up anywhere between 1 flight and 4 flights of stairs. This is an opportunity to have someone else do that for you. And again, in the year that, in case we need to, in the year of unknown, it's really a good resource, I think. And those will be there upon move-in day for when students get here. And the last thing I want to mention is renter's insurance. Most parents and students don't know renter's insurance exists for colleges. Sometimes it can be covered under parents' homeowner insurance, but it's just one of those things that we always like to mention. And the idea of something were to happen, we want you to be able to be insured, and we want you to know that this option is available for you. So I would talk to your normal insurance agent as adding something like that. Jess, slide, please.
Sure. That was it, I think.
So, yeah. So this is our contact information. It's our Instagram, it's our email, and that's our main office phone line. We are fortunate enough to where we were able to get into a place of having staff back in the office. We are one of these offices that are never really closed. So we are still here. Please leave a voicemail. We will get back to you. It is our goal to get back to you. Sometimes, though, we only have one person at the front desk working, and so we necessarily can't answer calls in real time. So please leave a voicemail now, and we will get back to you. And then just the same thing goes with our email account. I think that's it for the Res Life portion. I'm sure you all have questions still out there. I'm going to go back into the Q&A and do some more answers. But Jess, I think this is now your show.
Wow. Okay. Yep. So the only thing, I see some questions coming in. I know you guys, thank you so much, have addressed so many of them. That, what happens if someone, tests positive for COVID, or the one roommate is sick and one is not. So again, following the Connecticut state guidelines and working with the Department of Health, we have isolation space reserved on campus. So let's say a student does test positive. I mean, ideally, we would work to get them home so that they could isolate for the 14 days at home. But we know that not all students can go home. Perhaps they have, somebody who's high risk at home, or they're, would have to get on a train or a plane, and we don't want them to do that. So we will have isolation space for students who test positive. So, you wouldn't have a roommate who has COVID and, be expected to sleep in that same room, while that person recovers. Part of, one of the big things that we're doing right now, that we're working again with all of our peer institutions, is on contact tracing. So if your roommate tested positive for COVID, so if a student goes for a test, one of the things we're going to have them do is ensure that they sign to release the rights to that test to the institution. So, unlike any other test they might get, we would never have access to that because of HIPAA. But for this particular case, the student would have to sign the rights to reveal the result to us. So absolutely, we would then do contact tracing, and test your roommate, and test a partner, test anybody, inform those folks who have had close contact with that student who is positive. So again, working all of the details of that out. I think Max and Jill had mentioned the Live Safe app. We're going to be monitoring, health symptoms of our faculty, of our staff, of our commuters, of our residential students every single day, and using that as part of our contact tracing as well. So, we are working that out, but, have no fear that you won't be sitting in a room, with a potential roommate who's, got COVID or tested positive for COVID and be expected to sleep next to that person. We're working all those details out.
Jess, can you just talk briefly? I think people are really interested in safety. I know that you have spent a lot of time with RJ about measuring classrooms and thinking about those spaces. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the other safety things that will be in place on campus?
Sure, yeah. So we've talked tonight about residential life primarily, but we will have commuter students, coming to campus. So we're going to be expecting that any student coming from one of the quarantine states, I mean, we have to now because of the new guidelines, but we were going to anyway, that they have to produce a negative test as well because they will be coming on our campus. So any commuter student will have to do that. And in terms of the rooms, so all of the classrooms are at the capacity so that students can be 6 feet apart with their desks. I think with the exception of labs, but then there's additional PPE provided in, so a biology, a chemistry lab, but there'll be face shields and more PPE provided in those classes. So the classrooms are set up that way. We're writing the instructions now to make sure that when you enter the room, that you go in, all the way from left to right, from back to front, so that you're not walking past, a ton of other people, and that when you exit, you leave, from front to back. There'll be, sanitation, probably not in between every single class, because I imagine that would be almost impossible, but there will be, more routine cleaning of the rooms, as well as, wipes and, I picture kind of like going to the gym, wipes and spray bottles and paper towels. So if a student wanted to come into class and wipe down their desk because they felt more comfortable doing that, they certainly could do so. That would be available in the classroom. Masks being worn in class, absolutely. And we're working really closely with the faculty to make sure that if you're not feeling well, you don't go to class. This isn't the semester where we say fight through it. You're in college now, do it. Like, if you're not feeling well, we want you to stay home. And faculty know that. You won't be penalized for asking to do your work remotely, for a few days until you start feeling better, or, until you can get a test. So faculty know that they are to work with students and be as flexible as possible, because we do not want sick people in the classroom. And same for our faculty and our staff. We just had the return to work documents come out today from our human resources department. And if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, stay home. We need people, only coming to work who are feeling well. So I'm trying to think what other, that's kind of the main things about the classroom that come to mind. I know that I know there's some Hart families on the phone. I know that's a completely additional challenge of how you're going to sing and dance and play instruments together. That I'm not quite as familiar with, but I know that your dean and provost and folks have been really spending a lot of time working on how to do that.
So Jess, I believe I've seen in the chat box that an email went out to students today, letting them know if they are part of certain majors within the Hart School, they will be housed together. because of the type of contact that they have. We're also housing our athletes together, both first year athletes in one area and then our returning athletes in another because of the type of contact they have. And also it will allow us to isolate or quarantine potentially teams if need be. Hopefully we don't again get there. A little bit about our restrooms. All of our restrooms in the neighborhoods and in Hawk Hall will be cleaned each day, which is different than in the past. In the past, they did some cleaning, but certainly not a complete deep cleaning. I should say not a deep clean, but like a complete sanitization of that space. So that will happen once a day, 7 days a week, and it will be posted when we will have individuals in those spaces, and students will not be permitted in there when that cleaning is occurring. Also, there was a question that came up about traveling, and to be honest, we just don't know yet. I will share on a personal note, I just started this job. I'm from Ohio, and that's where my family is. I am not able to travel to Ohio right now because there is the guideline. They're on the travel advisory list, and they cannot come to see me at this point in time. So we're just going to have to wait and see, and we're really all in this together, working through these details. I don't think any of us expected to be in a pandemic if you would have asked us, 6 or 7 months ago even. So we're learning as we go, but safety is our primary concern, and we will certainly make decisions based on that.
Yeah, and all of our services on campus, I know there've been different topics of these, summer series. We're also making sure all of our offices are safe. So, the counseling, your students or you would still have access to counseling and psychological services, but it will probably look a little different because you can't sit up close, to your counselor. Most offices will probably be by appointment, or, via Zoom, or just so that we don't have tons of students, in a line congregating, in various offices. So, we're working on all of that too. So any, service that you ever would have been accustomed to, financial aid, Bursar, Center for Student Success, student engagement, they will all still be there for you. We're working on putting out what does that look like? How do you get in touch with them? Where is it different? We're trying to make it an entirely paperless semester, which, if I'm being completely honest, we should have probably been paperless 5-10 years ago. But if a student needs a signature from a faculty member, we're not going to expect them to go around campus and knock on doors and get signatures as much as possible. Do as much as we can electronically and via email to make it as easy and safe for the students.
And I know there's been questions about bathrooms. We just have not been able to post those. So maybe our RAs can talk a little bit talk about what the bathrooms look like in our neighborhoods A through D, Hawk, and then Complex E.
Yeah, so bathrooms in the neighborhoods, pretty much there's 2 bathrooms per floor, except the first floor because it's half the size of the other floors. But anyway, 2 bathrooms per floor. Each bathroom will have each bathroom per floor has 2 stalls, 2 sinks, and 2 showers. And there's probably about like 5 rooms per bathroom. Now, I don't know what that means for this, what is 5 rooms? I don't know how that's going to translate into how many students per semester, or I mean, per bathroom. But that's kind of the rundown for the neighborhoods.
And certainly we have decreased the occupancy within our neighborhoods A through D because of the types of restrooms that are there. The restrooms will have limits on them as to how many people can be in there at one time. And we will make sure that we share that. Can you talk a little bit about what Hawk looks like and how the bathrooms are different in E?
I could talk about Hawk. On each floor, except for the first floor, well, there's 2 bathrooms on the first floor, but people live on the second, third, fourth, and fifth floor. Each floor has a male and female since it's co-ed. The bathrooms have 4 showers and 4 stalls, and 3 sinks, and a huge mirror in front of the sinks. So there's 1 handicap bathroom stall and also 1 handicap shower. And yeah.
I would just like to note that the floors in the neighborhoods are not co-ed, so each floor is a different sex, as opposed to Hawk Hall where the floors are co-ed.
Although I will add this year that we will have floors that are not designated by gender in neighborhood E, given that there are single-use restrooms there. So that will be new this year, a little bit different, but we are designating other floors by gender, again, to be able to limit the number of students within restrooms. Hawk very intentionally, one restroom will be for women, one will be for men on each floor, so that we are keeping the ratios in line with using, again, students to fixture. So that's been things that we have been thinking about a lot this summer, and we're really digging into those details, and we'll share more of those before students get here and even more when they get here.
I was just going to say for the E neighborhood, it is a single-use restroom with a shower, sink, toilet in it. And to Matt and Ada's point of the number of people per floor is really what the number of people per fixture is what drives our decision on density and how kind of we work this problem backwards. So the most number of people per fixture in a neighborhood is going to be 4 people per fixture. So I just wanted to put that out there.
So all good information, guys. I got a ton of questions in the chat that are private, it looks like, that I don't think everybody had access to. So what I think we should do is do a quick round of like lightning answer. So they seem like pretty easy questions. So I'll ask the question and anyone jump in, and it should be 10 words or less. So we can try to answer as many of these as we can. So yes, there are jobs on campus. You can contact financial aid for work study, work with career services. And then Jeff, can you mention anything about jobs through your shop?
Absolutely. We encourage you to go to Handshake, which the university uses. As well, we will be also posting in the next week or two. Kate and her team will be posting some information. We do hire almost 400 students on campus, and it is not work study. They get paid cash.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there regulations for bringing your own fridge and microwave? Go.
No. There is a size limit, and that is on the do not bring link, which is in the chat. Same thing with a wattage limit for microwaves.
Good question. Will there be an option to be tested on campus during early drop-off? Currently, right now, no, there's not. But that is actually a really good suggestion that we can bring up. But as of now, no.
Well, the piece is because we want to know that there's a negative test, and we have not been able at this point to figure out how we would bring students to campus to do the test and then have them leave before they come back. So it's really important that that test is negative, which means it will more than likely have to be done somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Right. Will staff be tested? Student-facing staff will also have the option to be tested as well. Yep. So commuter students from outside, so any commuter students coming from the travel advisory states will also be required to come with a test and be part of any contact tracing testing that might have to happen due to a positive test. Let's see. Oh, that was a question from my bursar to me. Thank you, Michelle. Is there a TV in the common area?
Working on it.
Again, it's shared space, and we are navigating what that looks like and how we can use different facilities, but in a way that's safe. So we're working through those details.
Is there a garbage can in the room?
No. And real quick, it is really important any year, but especially this year with the amount of trash that is expected, that students take trash out to the dumpster because it is, again, who touches things is essentially one of the things we've learned about this virus. So it is really important that we send our students with trash bags to college and that they throw their trash away in the appropriate receptacles behind the building. There is a dumpster or recycling area next to each building.
How do they locate the housing portal?
It is on their self-service website. If you've never been to self-service, it is hartford.edu, my UHart at the top, and then click self-service is where you most likely also applied for housing, but if you're asking that question, you may not have yet, and please do.
Will students definitely have to bring all of their things home at Thanksgiving?
Not necessarily. We're going to evaluate where we are in early November, and we will make sure that we let students know so that they can make arrangements should they need to do that. We will likely have RAs spend time with each student to talk through what would your plan be, so that people can be prepared should we need to do that.
Where do they put in their request if they want to live next door to a friend and planning to be in a single?
Please put that in your housing portal, or you are more than welcome to send us a separate email and we will get that to our assignments team. We've gotten a lot of questions over the last couple of weeks about, is my student going to be isolated, or will I, if it's a student, be isolated if I'm in a single? And the answer is no. As you saw, over 400 of our students will be in singles or super singles. And so it is a really good option for people to have personal space and not to share that with anyone else if that's something that's important to you, or you just haven't lived with somebody before and you would like to do that. Also, we have our an individual from athletics, and we have talked with them. And although coaches do match students, athletes can also request to be in a single, and we will just still work to continue to put those teams together. And some students may do better in a single. So if that's something that's of interest to you, please respond to one of the previous emails that we sent and get your request in. It's first come, first serve.
Will floor meetings be happening this fall?
Yes, but not in a manner where there are going to be 20 people in a room together. So again, going back to engagement through RAs and individual conversations. And again, I think I put this in an answer to someone. It is really imperative that students be checking their hartford.edu email at this point going forward, at least every other day in the summer. And then once school starts, once a day. Because it's going to be the place where all information gets sent about, from professors to housing to dining, everything.
Denise, do you know anything about the gym, about the athletic center being available to students?
Yes, hi. I did respond to that. Sorry, I think I responded in the wrong spot. We will have facilities open for the fitness center, as well as some outdoor facilities that we're going to be monitoring. We did just receive word on Friday from the America East Conference that all fall sports have been postponed until the spring for further evaluation. So the traditional intramurals and facilities that we would have for recreation indoor are most likely going to be very limited, if all offered. However, the most popular hotspot is the fitness center, and we are going to take all optimal safety and standards and precautions to keep that running, to offer that to all the students. We're going to have a special app installed where we're going to be monitoring for numbers, and we're also going to be monitoring for social distance within that facility as well. The building hours are going to be posted on the athletics website as we move closer to the school year as well.
Jill, how many quarantine rooms do we have?
So there's a difference between quarantine and isolation. So isolation is when a student has tested positive. Quarantine is when a student is either from a state that may have travel restrictions, or there's concern that a student may have been exposed to COVID-19. So in terms of isolation, we have over 100 different spaces right now that students would be able to live in, and we're actually encouraging students to have a bag packed that should they need to go to those spaces, they can take a few items with them and go to isolation. And as you also mentioned earlier, Jess, that we're really encouraging students that are able to go home if they test positive to go home, to have that break and to be around their families.
Jess, if I may also answer a question I saw in the chat. Room dimensions, because I have the handy dandy sheet in front of me. If you want to get a pen out, a complex single, so again, E specifically, is going to be 9 feet by 16 feet. And then a double in the, or 8.5 by 16 feet. A double is going to be 12 feet by 16 feet. And then in Hawk Hall, it's roughly the same at 12 feet by 17 feet. Just thought it may help for the person who asked the room dimension question.
Mask wearing in the dorms. So, I mean, the general rule of thumb is wearing a mask inside when you can't be 6 feet away from others. But Jill, can you speak to wearing your mask in your room versus the hallway versus shared space?
So certainly, masks are going to be required in any hallway that we have in the residence hall. So that's when you walk in and also on the hallways on which you live. Anytime a student leaves their personal bedroom, they will need to have a mask on to go to out the building or to the restroom. In terms of their own private space, when they are the only occupants within that room, you may have your masks off, but other than that, we expect students to have masks on all the time. We recognize that this will be different. I think it will be a little less different for our Connecticut residents because, you know, coming from a state from Ohio and where nobody wore masks where I was to here in Connecticut. And I think in the last 3 weeks, I have seen actually two people now in stores or out that have not had masks on, but I always see people, you know, even getting out of their cars with masks on anytime that they are in indoor spaces. So that will be strictly enforced. And then in addition, looking at social distancing guidelines and making sure that those are followed whenever possible.
And just to add to that, you know, we understand college is a place of learning. And, you know, if a student forgets to put their mask on, you know, we're not going to say like, get out of here, you know, you're going home. You know, we'll politely ask and wear your mask, you know, wear your mask to class, wear your mask in the halls. And if it's a persistent problem, then we'll address it. But, you know, I mean, I've had that feeling where I've like walked into a store and been like, oh no, my mask, and, you know, and I know everyone's going to be getting used to it. So you know, we're balancing keeping everyone safe and healthy without making it feel like a penitentiary. So we don't want people to live in fear. We want them to learn and, you know, be healthy and safe.
And I would really encourage you to think about, we spend a lot of time on safety, and that's certainly of the utmost importance, but think about other pieces too, you know, having a student come to a space where they have to do these things independently. So I would really encourage students and family members and households, you know, friends, whoever you live with, to practice social distancing and wearing a mask now, because it is different. It is a different culture, and it's something that, again, I don't think people expected to do 6 months ago. So people will need to get in those habits, just like they will need to get in their habits if they take medications, that parents will not be there to remind you in the morning that did you take your medicine today? Are you sure you took your medicine today? And the same thing is going to go with masks. They're going to have to make those decisions, you know, when you leave your room. Did you lock your door? Did you take your swipe card? Did you put on your mask? And I think RAs will be spending a lot of time working with students. You know, we talk about self-advocacy and learning, you know, self-awareness to take responsibility to do these things, not only for themselves, but the larger Hawk community, because we're all Hawks and we're in this together.
Yeah, and with that, we're working really hard now on all educational resources for health and safety, but also for being successful in the classroom, who to ask for help, how to access different technology. You know, that's all going to be centralized on the COVID-19 webpage that we're working on. So, you know, a lot of that'll be coming. So they're not alone. And I can't emphasize enough, and I'm sure that Matt and Ada can, you know, attest to this, like, you know, just ask for help, and more than ever, you know, just be transparent. You know, if you're struggling in the class with the format, or if you're, you know, having trouble maybe not having a roommate or having a roommate, you know, let us know. Something that'll be coming out in the next couple weeks is maybe even as soon as next week, is we worked on a survey we want to know what students are struggling with before they get to campus, so we can help them and reach out. So, you know, if there are certain anxieties, certain concerns, you know, whether it be technology, wearing a mask, you know, connecting with others, you know, we want to know who that is so we can help you before you get here. So, you know, look out for that, you know, coming your way. So, but definitely, you know, take advantage of the resources, talk to your professors, talk to your RAs. We really are here to help you and want to help you navigate those things.
I've seen a couple of questions about where will this information be posted. We've been working really closely with our marketing and communications department to get a lot of this information up on our website. Jess, are there other places that this particular recorded session will be so that they know?
Yep. So this recorded session and all the others, I think, is on the orientation website. But everything coming out for the fall semester in terms of policies, expectations, resources, contacts, that's all going to be right on the centralized COVID-19 page that you can access right from the main University of Hartford page. Something else I know that you're thinking about, not necessarily as related to this, you'll be hearing about your roommate assignments soon, but I know the first year advisors are busy working on your schedules. So they started them last week. They're working on them this week and should be in touch with you. And end of July, first week of August with schedules. And don't panic. I mean, this is literally us manually doing 1,000 schedules. If there's something that doesn't feel right, if there's something you don't like, speak up. That's what your first year advisor is there for. Don't suffer, don't be confused, don't ask, don't be afraid of asking questions. Please do ask us. We really want to help you with that. So I think we tried to answer as many questions as we could, both from the chat and the Q&A. I really feel like I'm a pilot with like all my screens and all my windows. If we did not answer your question tonight, can everyone just review who and how we can reach you?
So the Office of Residential Life, we have our email posted right now, a phone number. We will actually be answering calls, hopefully beginning tomorrow. We have to have that taken off from our IT department, but we will have the ability to do that. Please be patient because I'm sure that our phone lines will be busy, but we are responding to emails as quickly as we are able, as well as calling people back as well.
Yeah, and for dining, you can visit our website, which is at the beginning of our presentation was hartford.campusdish.com. You can also email me directly. I know that Jess had my information up there for anybody that has any questions about allergies or intolerances or anything like that. Feel free to take a look at all of our social media channels. But please reach out to us as much as possible. Even if it's just meeting that first day that your student gets to campus and you guys want a quick tour, and we can introduce you to our management team. And what we do in dining, I like to say a lot of times is we see your students more often than professors because we see them 3 times a day. Just as much as you see your RAs and your Res Life staff, you're also going to see our dining staff. So please do not hesitate to reach out right away.
And when in doubt, if you don't know where to go, css@hartford.edu is a good centralized place to start, and they'll be able to get you to the correct office and get your questions answered.
If anybody has any follow-up questions for athletics, please, you can check our website. It's hartfordhawks.com, and anybody can feel free to send me an email at dmarchese@hartford.edu, and my phone extension is 768-5150.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of our attendees, for your patience, for your questions, for your suggestions. Talking with students and talking with families, really helps us creating all these policies and figuring everything out. So we really appreciate it. And for you sticking with us, an extra half hour. Again, a ton of communication is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks about testing, about quarantining, about moving in, about getting your schedule. It's all happening. It's been frustrating for us the same way it's been frustrating for you. It's that feeling of hurry up and wait all the time. We're always planning. We have to get it done. And then it's, wait a minute, the guidelines changed, or wait, now this. So I understand how frustrating it is, but please rest assured that we are working on it. And above all, we want to have a fun semester. We want to meet your students, but we also want to have a safe campus. And healthy students and healthy staff and healthy faculty, and that really truly is our #1 priority. So more information to come, And please do feel free to follow up with any of the folks on this call tonight. So thank you to our panelists, and thank you to all of our attendees. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you soon.